Hello, my name is Matthew 𝐟𝐚𝐭𝐬. I'm a best-selling author, certified flow coach, and practitioner of applied psychology. For the last 2 decades, I've been helping people get out of the chronic stress cycle. I'm going to share with you the 5 components of the chronic stress cycle that you must understand if you're ever going to get out of chronic stress. Let's begin. Before we go into the 5 components, I want to go over what stress is so we have a working definition. One of the most misunderstood things that I've come across in the last 20 years. And so, first thing I want you guys to understand is when we're operating in the world, there are things that are going to happen outside of us, like this drawing here. It's a warning. Okay, so let's just think of this as what would be called a stressor. And so what is a stressor? It's a potential problem. And when we perceive a potential problem, right, when we see it, what happens is our body activates a response or an alarm system. Okay, so you can think of this as an alarm system. And that's our stress response. And so what is the purpose of the stress response? What is it doing? What's the intention behind the alarm? Because the body is very efficient. It does nothing for no reason. So this alarm, what it's doing is it's actually mobilizing resources. So what does that mean, mobilizing resources? Well, if you've ever been stressed before, you notice your heart rate goes up, maybe your palms get sweaty, maybe your intensity of focus increases, like there's this kind of up-leveling of energy in the body. Those are resources. It's an increase in energy resources. And so what's the purpose of these resources being mobilized? Well, it's to assess and address the problem. Assess and address. Now, this brings me to the first component of the chronic stress cycle. It's all these small potential problems. I call them the everyday open loops. And so when you think about a potential problem, it's an open loop, meaning there's something that we haven't solved for here. There's something that's like, there's a problem here. I don't have a solution. Maybe I'm not even sure what the problem is, but there's an open loop. And your brain is constantly kind of thinking about it. Like, think about that right now. I guarantee you there's something, even watching this video, you can think of some things that you're kind of like, yeah, man, I haven't figured that out. Or, oh, God, yeah, that conversation with so-and-so. Or, oh, there's that email that I forgot to write. Oh, you know what? I really should have that conversation with so-and-so, or, oh man, I'm still not working out. These are everyday open loops, okay? And they accumulate. They accumulate. It's the running to-do list. It's the things that just keep piling up over time, okay? And the key is they're not being assessed and addressed, right? The everyday open loops. It's like, I call it death by 1,000 to-dos, okay? Now, there's a way to assess and address, and in other videos I'll go into how to address open loops and some very simple strategies for organizing those things and prioritizing. But one of the things you got to do here, that one thing I'll leave you with here in this video is you have to get all that stuff out of your head. You got to write it all down, okay? Because when you get it on paper, your brain doesn't have to keep reminding you of it. So just one quick tip to help with this first component of chronic stress, the everyday open loops, is get all that stuff out on paper, okay? You got to get it written down. And then we have to be able to assess and prioritize what's really mission critical here, what's urgent and what's important. And so in another video, I will go through that process. But everyday open loops is one of the most common ways the chronic stress cycle continues. Because what happens is, if we don't address and assess, if this doesn't happen, well, do those Do more potential problems stop happening? No. They just keep recycling on themselves, and they keep over and over and over again. And this alarm system is just constantly going off to the point where the alarm is now just part of our day, right? We're just, the alarm's going off and it's just normal. Well, everybody's stressed. It's like, well, that's probably true, but we don't all have to be stressed all the time. So this is number one, everyday open loops. Let's go to number two here, okay? Number two is a little deeper open loop, and I call them primal open loops. And primal open loops have to do with the beliefs we have about our identity, and it really goes back to childhood. And again, I will do videos on every single one of these, so please stay tuned. This video, I just want you to see the 5 big components here so that you have an idea of where you might need to, what you might need to address first. But primal open loops are basically these core beliefs that we adopt mostly through our childhood because of certain situations, where we have these identity beliefs like I'm only valuable when I'm performing, right? Like that could be a core loop that's driving you at a very deep level, meaning it's this open loop of I'm not valued. How do I stay valued? Oh, I need to perform. Okay. And so that open loop of feeling not valued and what do I need to do to be valued? That's an open loop, boy, that will have you stressed for the rest of your life. So it's important to identify these. Another one is if I slow down, I'll fall behind. So that's an open loop of just this fundamental, I don't feel safe. Okay. And so I have to stay in motion all the time in order to feel safe. So these primal open loops are a little deeper core beliefs that really get programmed into our operating system, into our brain at very, very, very young ages. Okay. And so being able to assess and address those are just as important. And you will start to see, especially when you start to brainstorm your everyday open loops, you'll see how these two things feed off of each other. The everyday open loops that are going to be the most potentially threatening to your system are going to be the ones that directly correlate to these primal open loops. All right? Those are the first two components of chronic stress cycle that will keep you in chronic stress forever. The next one, okay, this one is so important, and I think it's one of the most overlooked ones. And I just think of it as your environment, okay? Number two is the environment you're in. And so number three. Number three is the environment. So here's the best analogy I can give you. If I put you in your house and I tell you, hey, make sure you get all the things you need to get done today. Maybe it's, maybe it's get the house in order, maybe it's cook for your family, or whether it's in your house or it's at your office. And I say, okay, I put you in your office and I say, okay, make sure you get all the things done, emails, meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And whether you're in your home doing your thing or at your office, let's say that I said, oh, by the way, in your home and or at your office, there are these invisible spiders that occupy the space, that if you get bitten by it, you will get sick and you'll be out of commission for 30 days. So, just be careful. All right, see ya, right? And I walked away. Now, let's say I told you that, so you know that in your environment are these dangerous spiders, and I observe you as you go through your day, whether you're at home or at work. And I see like, man, you are just like, you can't focus. You're all over the place. You can't get anything done. You're on edge. You're so jittery. You haven't eaten all day. Now, if I just look at that in a vacuum, I'd be like, wow, this person has, ADHD. This person has anxiety disorder. This person has this. And what's happening in those situations, and I see this so much in my practice, is the alarm going off consistently and getting louder and louder and louder, whether it's anxiety, whether it's overwhelm, whether it's jittery, whether it's inability to focus, this is getting blamed as the problem. But clearly, it's not the problem. The alarm system's doing its job. It's trying to tell you that something in my environment is not safe. Now, I use the invisible spiders, but more often than not, it's people. There's certain individuals in your life right now that your nervous system is picking up on that could be a threat in some way, okay? And without addressing that issue, once again, the same problem happens. That open loop of a problem in the environment, it just starts to feed on itself, and round we go, right? If you don't leave that environment, if you don't get out of that environment or address the fact that there's these invisible spiders that are threatening, if I don't do something about that, I'm never going to have my stress turned off. My nervous system's never going to relax. Okay, so that's number 3, your environment. Third component of chronic stress. Number four is more the inside to out, I call it, stress. So number 4 is systemic stress. So what's systemic stress? Well, what they're finding actually with depression, as an example, one of the causes of depression is not getting enough sleep, okay? And so if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating properly, or you're eating foods that are creating disruptions in your digestive system, creating metabolic stress, maybe you're in a toxic environment, you're not eating at all, or not eating the right things, all of these things are stressful to the system because from at a very basic cellular systemic level, there's a threat, okay? Maybe you don't move enough. Maybe you sit too much. Like, all of these things are systemic stressors, okay? So you might be really good at organizing your to-do list. You might be like, oh yeah, I've done some of that core belief work. I feel really good about that. My environment's pristine, but I don't really take care of myself. I don't eat well. I don't sleep well. I don't move enough. And I live in a polluted city. It's like, all right, well, guess what? Chronic stress cycle is going to get activated, right? And so no environment's perfect. No systemic situation is perfect either, right? So we're not looking for perfection in these. We just want to be aware of all of these different variables that can create the chronic stress cycle. So systemic, the big ones are sleep, hydration, food, and movement, okay? And then I like to throw in like being outside, getting some sunlight in your eyes, and just being outdoors. Those are the 5 systemic checkpoints that you want to look at that can be causing these chronic stress cycles, okay? Now the last one here, number 5, we're going to put this nice giant eyeball right here in the center of your head because that's your brain. I know I'm a very good artist. Number 5 is your mental focus. Okay. Now, again, I can go into depth in all 5 of these things, and this one's probably the one you can go the most in depth in. But here's the big takeaway I want you to have, at least from this video, is the way your mind is focused. What you're focused on is going to directly translate to the amount of stress and threat your nervous system believes it's in. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you two huge ones that I find to be the most common with people. The first one is when I ask people in my coaching program, how can I help you? I have a rule. Because usually when I ask somebody, how can I help you? They usually start to tell me everything they don't want, everything they want to eliminate. And my rule is I'll give you 30 minutes to tell me all the things you don't want. And then I'll say to you, hey, do you remember the question I asked? I asked you, how can I help you? What would you like me to, where would you like to go with me? What would you like to create with me? Most people forgot I asked them that question. And so I repeat and I say, hey, okay, cool. That's really helpful. Thanks for telling me what you don't want. Can you tell me what you do want? And more often than not, people just kind of stare at me like I got two heads. We become so consumed with the problems, okay? We stare at the problem, right? That we've never taken the time to identify, where do we actually want to go, right? If I was a travel agent and I called you and I said, listen, I will give you a ticket anywhere in the world. Where do you want to go? And all you say to me is, I don't know, but I don't want to be here. 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 It's like, okay, well, I can't really help you until you tell me where you want to go, right? And so one of the first rules of thumb is wherever you're focused on, that's where you're going to end up, okay? And so if you're focused on, I don't want to be anxious, okay? Like a woman that came to me, I'll never forget this young lady. She came to me and asked me, quote unquote, Matt, I said, how can I help you? And she said, I want you to help me to work on my anxiety. I said, okay. I said, well, how long you've been working on your anxiety? She said, 40 years. I said, wow. I said, it sounds like you've mastered anxiety. Let's focus on working on something else, right? So she was so obsessed with fixing her anxiety that all she was doing was creating more anxiety. So focus on where you want to go. Do not focus on what you don't want. Okay, that's one of the key things when it comes to mental focus. The second thing that I want to share with you that I think is a very, very important mind adjustment is one of the best tools that I give my clients when it comes to building confidence and getting their mind on track is remembering to measure backwards. When you set goals, when you set visions, when you set targets you're trying to hit in the future, it's important to set those targets and name them, okay, and use them as a North Star. But you don't want to be measuring yourself against that ideal, because first of all, you're never going to get to an ideal. That's why they're ideals, right? And you want to always be shooting for the kind of the big goal. But if you're constantly evaluating or assessing, am I there yet? Am I there? You're like the kid in the back seat. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It's like you might have driven 450 miles, but maybe you need to go 525 miles. And so the whole ride, you're like, I'm not there yet. I'm still not there yet. But you've never taken a moment to acknowledge how far you've gone. Okay, so when it comes to motivation, inspiration, and not feeling stressed, it's so important to acknowledge how far you've come, okay? And so that's the second little nugget I would share with you when it comes to mental focus that can help you get out of the chronic stress loop, all right? So those are your 5 main components of the chronic stress cycle. We've got everyday open loops, we've got primal loops, we have your environment, okay? Your systemic well-being, what's happening with yourself from a sleep, food, movement, outside, sun standpoint, and then mental focus. What am I focused on? Where is my mind focused? If you found this interesting and you want to learn more, make sure to check out my chronic stress immunity 5-day challenge that we're offering in the next month or so. So make sure you click the link below to see when the next offering is, and come on into my 5-day challenge, because I will go into all 5 of these things and give you very tangible strategies, techniques, and action items that will absolutely get you out of this chronic stress cycle and put you in a position to start feeling more peace, more inspired, and more fulfilled each and every day.